Okay, picture this. It's 1941, and the war in the Mediterranean is balanced on a razor's edge. The British Royal Navy seems absolutely untouchable in its main base at Alexandria, which is basically a fortress. But, well, that was all about to change. This is the story of one of World War II's most incredible special operations, a mission that involved secret tech, unbelievable courage, and would shift the balance of power across the entire sea. So that's the big question, right? At the absolute height of the war, the Royal Navy's base in Alexandria was a fortress. And yet, on a single night in December, just 6 sailors managed to get inside its defenses and cripple its 2 most powerful warships. How on earth did they pull that off?
They did it with this very strange-looking machine. This is a Siluro Lenta Corsa, which translates to slow-running torpedo. Think of it like an underwater chariot for 2 frogmen, and it was packed with a detachable warhead. Now, the Italians gave it a nickname, the Maiale, which means pig, mostly because it was just so difficult to handle. And this pig was about to cause some serious trouble.
So you might be asking, why would they bet everything on such a bizarre weapon? To really get that, we need to take a look at the state of the war in the Mediterranean. It was, to put it mildly, a pretty desperate time for both sides.
You see, the British Mediterranean fleet was already on the ropes. They had just suffered a string of absolutely devastating losses. The famous aircraft carrier Ark Royal? Gone. The battleship Barham? Sunk by a U-boat. And Force K, a really powerful cruiser group, had just been completely wiped out after running into an Italian minefield. The British were reeling, and the Italians knew that one more solid punch could give them control of the sea.
And this was the weapon designed to deliver that punch. The SLC was all about stealth. 2 operators would literally ride it, submerged, right up to an enemy ship. Then they'd detach the warhead, fix it to the hull with a timer, and then, hopefully, escape. It was an incredibly high-risk, high-reward idea developed by an elite unit called the Decima MAS, Italy's naval special forces.
The mission was codenamed Operazione EA3. The plan was, on paper, simple, but in reality, unbelievably bold. It came down to this: 1 submarine, 3 of these human torpedoes, and a hand-picked crew of 6 operators.
And here they are, 3 two-man teams, led by Lieutenant Commander Luigi Duran de la Pen. On December 3, 1941, these guys and their 3 pigs slipped out of Italy aboard the submarine Scirè. Their destination? The most heavily defended harbor in the entire Mediterranean. And now, we get to the most dangerous part of the whole operation, actually getting inside. Alexandria was protected by nets, patrol boats, constant vigilance. A head-on assault was just impossible.
Their infiltration was just a masterpiece of stealth and a little bit of luck. After launching from the sub, they navigated to the harbor mouth, and just as they arrived, the defensive boom gate opened to let 3 British destroyers in. So what did the Italian teams do? They slipped in right behind them. They were nearly discovered by patrols that were dropping random explosive charges, but they kept going, even managing to somehow get their torpedoes over the anti-torpedo nets that surrounded their targets.
So now they were inside, right next to the pride of the British fleet, the battleships HMS Valiant and HMS Queen Elizabeth. The next step was to attach the mines.
And what makes this even more unbelievable is that the British actually knew something was coming. Their codebreakers had intercepted Italian messages, and a very specific warning about a human torpedo attack had been issued literally the day before. But despite that alert, these 6 frogmen were now operating completely undetected in the heart of the base.
But it wasn't exactly smooth sailing. The team attacking HMS Valiant, the one led by De La Penne, really struggled to attach their explosive. In the end, they just had to drop it on the seabed right underneath the battleship's hull. The other main team, though, they managed to attach their charge directly to the keel of HMS Queen Elizabeth, exactly as they'd planned.
Mission complete. De La Pen and his partner Bianchi surfaced, completely exhausted, and they were immediately spotted and captured. They were taken aboard the very ship they had just mined, HMS Valiant, and interrogated. But they refused to say a single word. All the while, the clock was ticking. The mines were set. All 3 teams had reached their targets. The Italian sailors were either captured or trying to escape. All that was left was to wait. And this part of the story just perfectly illustrates the sheer nerve of these men. About 15 minutes before his mine was set to detonate, De La Pena, who's being held prisoner deep inside the Valiant, asked to see the captain, Charles Morgan.
He then calmly informs him that his ship is about to explode, giving him just enough time to evacuate his men. De La Peña was then sent right back to the hold, directly above the bomb.
And then the harbor erupted. First, the third team's mine went off, damaging a tanker and a destroyer. Then, at 6:05 a.m., right on schedule, the bomb under HMS Valiant detonated, lifting the massive battleship right out of the water. Just 4 minutes later, the mine under the fleet's flagship, HMS Queen Elizabeth, blew a gigantic hole in her hull.
Let's just stop for a second and really think about the numbers here. What was just accomplished? It all started with just 6 minutes.
Using only 3 of these experimental human torpedoes to disable 2 of the most powerful battleships in the world. The sheer efficiency of it's just staggering.
And the strategic result was immediate and it was devastating. In a single night, the British Mediterranean fleet went from having 2 fully operational battleships to having 0. They were, for all intents and purposes, neutralized as a major fighting force. And this left the Italian fleet in a position of naval supremacy.
You see, the raid wasn't just a tactical victory. It had a profound and lasting legacy, both for the war and, as we'll see, for the men who were involved.
The British commander, Admiral Cunningham, he admitted how severe the blow was. In his own words, he said his fleet was so weakened, it now had to leave it to the Royal Air Force to challenge the Italians. This gave Italy control of the sea, which secured their vital supply lines to Rommel's army in North Africa, and really prolonged that brutal campaign.
But the story has this one final, really remarkable chapter. After the war, when the Italian frogmen were released from prison, the former captain of HMS Valiant, now Admiral Charles Morgan, specifically requested that he be the one to award Italy's highest military honor to the man who sank his ship, Luigi Durand de la Penne. I mean, what an incredible gesture of respect between 2 former enemies.
The raid on Alexandria is without a doubt a powerful contender. It really proves that courage, ingenuity, and just a few determined people can achieve the impossible, and maybe even change the course of history. So it leaves me wondering, what do you think is the most audacious special operation ever?